just go ahead and point out the elephant in the room that my mom is not here. But instead we have her two mini-me's, her two middle daughters.
Her two favorite daughters.
Sorry, Talia and Ava. And we are here to do a little takeover for the month of May. We are going to be doing a mini series. We're going to be guest hosting. These first two are going to be just me and Olivia, and then my mom will join us at the end of the month. And we're going to be talking about relationships, dating, singleness, engagement, breakups.
All the good stuff.
All of it. And so we're super excited. Yeah, so today is just me and Olivia. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself really quickly. I am Jazlyn. Oh yeah, I'm a worship pastor. I write songs. I love music, and just excited to be here today. And this is my sister, Olivia. Why don't you go and introduce yourself?
My name is Olivia. I am the third of four daughters from my mom and dad as well. I also work at Cedar Park Church and do a lot of fun things. Working at a church, you get to just be involved in every aspect of everything. It's kind of just the nature of being at church. And I'm excited to do this today. This is my first time ever being on a podcast.
That's true.
I'm kind of nervous, but I feel like it's what I was born for.
Yeah, I'm no expert. I had a breakdown during the intro. So.
Yeah, it's okay. We cut it out though, so maybe we'll do a bloopers post. But
yes,
yeah, I'm excited.
Will. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about, we titled it Single and Satisfied. So we're just going to be talking about singleness and what it means to be a single woman who's a Christian. How do we do that well? Maybe tell some stories of how we didn't do it well or we did do it well. But we're just going to be talking all about singleness. And I think we're going to stick to that singleness era where you're not like dating, but it's just you.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to talk about our favorite things and our least favorite things about being single. Yeah. If you can remember, because you just got married, so you haven't been single for a while.
No, I haven't. I mean, I've only been married for a month, but it's been a little bit since I've been single, but I also was single for a long time. And I feel like there's a lot of people associate singleness with loneliness, and I don't think that that's true. That wasn't necessarily my experience. I love being married, and I loved dating and being engaged and all this stuff, but I also think that there's a lot to gain out of being single and having independence. And I feel like, it doesn't have to be associated with loneliness. That's totally. That's not the story for everyone. And so I think that my favorite thing about being single, I don't know, it feels a little bit wrong to say something that I loved about being single and not being single.
I think we should talk about it because there's a lot of single people, and I think often we talk about the bad things about it.
True.
So we're just going to celebrate singleness for a little bit. Yeah. What was your favorite thing?
My favorite thing, I'm thinking like in my adult years being single, I'm 21. I almost said 22. I'm 21.
Almost 22.
So in my adult years, I wasn't single for that long. But my hobby, I would say, was thrifting. I got really into thrifting, like secondhand shopping, and I really got into like my creativity and like I tried to like I don't know, I was just trying to. I also, being single and being like 18 to 20 is a lot of those years where you're just figuring out who you want to be, like what your interests are, things that are fun to you. Yes, I definitely dove into the farm girl lifestyle, and I still love that. It's still in my core. But yeah, I got really into thrifting. I did a lot of just like hanging out with friends. Was really involved, am still really involved in church and serving in youth ministry. I think it's really important to, if you are single with the intention of like you want to be married, you want to have a future or like in that world, is to like not let that be the center of your life, but to find a purpose in your singleness and let that be who you are and let that kind of drive you and lean into the Lord and what he has for you. But I got really into thrifting. That was my satisfaction.
I feel like you do have to just find something in your singleness and to help you just like get through, almost in a way. I don't even want to say it like that, because I think the whole point of what we're talking about today is that you can be single and satisfied and content. And I remember, I think one of my favorite things about being single, and I'm a little bit older than you, and I was single for a little bit more, but not much. Yeah. And I think during that time, just the idea of like the excitement of like one day I won't be single was like one of my favorite feelings of like, it's not going to be like this forever. And it just felt like a special season of my life where I could just kind of like focus on myself, not in a selfish way, but almost in a selfless way to like prepare my life, not just for like my future husband or my future family, but to just become my best self. And I feel like it was just fun to be like independent, and your relationships are just really special during that time too. You, especially if your friends around you are single too, and you can just support each other in that. Like, I know we don't want to be like this forever, but we have each other right now. So let's just have fun, make the most. And I was blessed with really good friends in that time too, to just, let's go on fun trips. Yeah. Let's go do fun things. You don't have to wait until you're married to like do those fun things. But yeah, just like having a season to focus on, I think like your health, your work, staying in your lane, and just like saving money, learning as much as you can, going places, and just having experiences as a single is really important. Right. And
also remembering that singleness is not an identity. Like it's okay to be single. It's okay to like, married is not my identity. Being engaged was not my identity. Dating, none of it is your identity, but finding who you are in that and who you are in Christ is really important. And I think being like in every season that you are, your attitude is what dictates everything. If you're depressed and choosing to be like, I hate being single, I hate like all this stuff, if you're gonna have like a negative attitude about it, your life is gonna be pretty rough. But if you're like choosing to be like, I don't know what God has for me in this season, but I'm gonna choose to look for it in everything that I do, and to choose to walk in joy and in gratitude for, you know, even the breath in my lungs, for even the family that I have, or everything, is that it's important to have a good outlook on those sorts of things.
Totally. And I think you talked about it a little bit with hobbies. Something I think that in your single season helps is just finding your passion and finding your purpose. And one of the things we wanted to talk about was find your purpose, especially in your single season. Obviously, your whole life, you're going to be finding your purpose. But that is a season that you can just really focus on that. And I think for myself, it was music was an area that I was like, this is what I'm passionate about. And I'm just going to pour like all of that extra energy I think that I would maybe give towards a relationship or towards a partner. I'm just going to pour everything into that. And that was a really fun time in my life where I was songwriting like all the time, because I had so much more time. You know, wasn't going out on dates or like, you know, going out, but just having those hobbies like thrifting or exercise or road trips, fun stuff like that.
Yeah. One thing that reminded me of this is like kind of off topic, but during the season, we kind of, Jazzy and I, were on a really similar timeline of like going from single to dating to engaged.
Well, it was like, but before that, remember we'd never dated at the same time.
Yes. It was always a joke that like anytime like I would be dating someone and then Jazzy would start dating, I would break up, and then it was like we never dated at the same time. And so when we both started dating our now your future husband, my husband, we were like, who's gonna break up first? But thankfully neither of those. But that reminded me when you were talking about your hobby of songwriting, I was just thinking the other night, I was at home, obviously I'm married and I don't live at home anymore, but I was remembering Jazzy is still known in our house as being a nighttime disruptor. Jazzy went through a phase where she would,
peace.
Yes, she would stay up so late and just like be so loud. Like,
yeah.
And so I was just remembering in your songwriting era, it would be like midnight or 1 o'clock, and I would hear your guitar strumming down in your room, and it just was funny.
And then I would hear that you were up and be like, Olivia, come check out this song.
I'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning, we're like, this is so sick.
Like,
I love this
so
song.
Good. And then the next morning we'll listen to it again. Like, what were you thinking?
Bad.
That was so
No, but I think that was true. You did pour a lot of energy and time, and we had some fun even doing that together. Like we got to go to Nashville together. Yeah. And you did like photography or you did a photo shoot for your album and got to like do fun things like that.
Yeah. Those are all great memories that I have, especially with my sisters. Like, because a lot of when I was single was when me, you, and Ava, the three of us were at home. Yeah. And we would just hang out. We would get boba like 3 nights a week. Probably so bad for you. Yeah. We would go on drives. We would just go hang out.
Which
go play
I don't
soccer.
even like boba. So I would just go for the hangs.
Yeah. Me and Ava are boba obsessed.
I would just get tea, no boba.
That's so true. I remember that.
But yeah,
lame.
it was so fun. We got to just like have a lot of fun. I feel like when I look back at singleness, I don't think of that time of my life as being single. I just was like living my life. I was just hanging out with my sisters and my friends. And
do you feel like you were, so you're saying that you felt like you were always pretty content in your singleness?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like, I hate this so much, and just that desperation of like, I want to get out of this?
I wouldn't say I never felt like that. I'm a woman and I have hormones that are all over the place. So there were definitely times where I would feel like, oh, I want to be married, or like when someone would start dating, like, oh, I want a boyfriend. But I feel like I'm a pretty just like chill person. I don't really care that much. I was just kind of content to like do my thing. And
did you always have a feeling it would just work out?
Yeah, I always thought that I would get married really young. Like I don't know. I think it was because mom and dad always talked about how they got married so young. And so in my mind, I was just like, yeah, you get married when you turn 19.
Right.
Duh.
That's just.
And so then I like turned 19 and I'm like, okay, where is he? Like, but I think I was always like, I just always knew I was going to get married.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really, like, it just was like, yeah, duh.
That's great.
Yeah. But I feel like I never thought so much about the dating part. I just always thought about marriage.
Sure.
Like being single, I was just like, yeah, I just want to be married. Like I never was like, oh, I want to be dating.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. We will talk about dating next episode.
Yeah,
but
sorry. I don't want to give any spoilers.
No, you're fine. But because I do want to go into that, but I'm like, oh no, we can't. We have to wait.
Yeah.
We're specifically talking about this single season. And yeah, because I think for me, I didn't date anyone until my senior year of high school. And then I went into college single, and I kind of dated, but I never was in a relationship for 3 years that I was at school in college. And those like 3 years pretty much of being single, I was really sad about it pretty much the whole time. And like, cause I like people and, or like just felt so like unnoticed or just, which isn't true. Like you just get in your head, like, why am I not dating anyone? Why isn't it working? And those like 3 years, that was like my worst single era of like just sad girl all the time and like just doubting myself, so insecure and just kind of like self-sabotaging in that way where it was, I didn't really like recognize the season that God had placed me in. I just thought like I'm not good enough and that's why I'm single, or like nobody will ever like me, because it's so easy to feel that way when you're single for years at a time, especially when you're like 20, 21, 22, and then everyone around you is like getting married and some people are having kids, which is so crazy to like probably non-Christians, but Christians, and especially on like in a bubble, they just get married early and young. So, which is beautiful. And I'm getting married young technically because I'll be 25 when I'm getting married, which is so young to the world. But, so yeah, I felt really sad. And I think I just felt like I didn't know my worth and I didn't have my purpose yet, because I was in college still trying to figure out like, what is my calling? I'm around people who are also like sad about being single or married. And I was just in this bubble of like, I think God had me there for a reason, but I think post college is when I started to like really just snap out of it and like realize like, oh, there's more to life than just being sad about being single. Yeah. Like, I think I just decided like, I'm just going to go for it. And that was the time in my life where I graduated college early. So I did in 3 years. And in 2020, I went to Nashville for like 6-7 months to do an internship. And I remember that was kind of one of those things where I was like, honestly, I thought I would be like married. When I started college, I thought I would leave college married. Yeah. Because everyone did. Yeah. And then when I wasn't. That
MRS degree.
Ring by spring, I did not get that. I was just sad in spring. Just kidding.
Okay,
I had
moving
tears
on.
in spring. Anyway, so I graduated and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, I'm not waiting, for this perfect person to just come in and sweep me off my feet, and which he did eventually. But
He took his time.
He took his time, yeah. And so I just decided, like, I'm gonna go to Nashville and I'm gonna pursue a passion of mine for a little bit. And that was scary because I was by myself.
Yeah.
I had a friend who actually like was moving there with me, but she was doing her own thing, so we lived together, and that was fun. But that was just like, for me, just getting out of my like bubble and out of my zone of like, I was just sad about being single and I didn't want to be single, but I was like, God doesn't have that for me right now. He must have something else for me.
Right.
And even though it took me like years to get out of that, once I did that, I just learned so much when I got out of my comfort zone and out of my bubble.
Right.
I met so many people, and other people saw things in me that I didn't see in me, and that the people who grew up around me never called out in me, just because when you put yourself in a new area, you receive opportunity for new feedback and just new things you learn. And so I think and then I came home from that experience just like excited to be a new person. Like, I feel like I had a fresh start because I was gone for a little bit, and I came back to Seattle and I was like, I'm out of college, I got a job, and I'm just gonna like go for it and just be happy and content. And I'm going to, what I loved about that season in Nashville is I was by myself, but I like found things that I loved. And I would just like, after work, I would just like go to a park and like run, and I would run like 10 miles and just like do crazy things by myself. But I just never knew that like one could do those things and that I could have fun by myself.
Right.
And I learned that in a season of like isolation and just getting out there.
Yeah.
So when I came home, I was like, I'm going to still do those things that I did on my own, but I'm going to bring it back to my world. And it was hard at first because I remember like when you get back home, if you've ever like moved away, you come back, you really easily can like slink back into your old
habits,
ways.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's just easy because it's comfortable, right? Like, I had my people already because I wasn't gone that long. I had my family, I was living at home. But I feel like that set me up for the best single experience that I had. And I dated a little bit here and there, but I was mostly single.
Yeah.
And I found so much purpose in like, I'm going to pursue music. I'm going to do my job well. I'm going to learn how to be a good friend. I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to take care of my health, and I'm going to work out and get healthy and all that. So yeah, that's kind of my story with singleness, where there was like, I was stuck in just the pit for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know what really woke me up. I think it was just like an experience of like, I'm done with this.
What do you think, like, thinking back to that time where you were in the pit or like in the trenches, what do you feel like was the thing that fueled the sadness the most? Like, what do you think was kind of the most negative thing that you did to yourself during that time?
Just thought about it too much.
Yeah.
I just, it was always on my mind. I was like, I was disguising it, I think, with like, oh, I'm just praying for my future, praying for my future husband. But it was just like not healthy for me. And I just was like constantly thinking about it. Like, oh, I'm single. Oh, I'm single. Oh, I need to be praying for him. And then we should talk about, this is, we were talking about emotional boundaries in your singleness. Because what I would do to myself is like, every boy who was somewhat decent looking around my age and a Christian, I was like, is that my future husband?
Yeah. Okay, this is something that I feel like, maybe this is just me, I feel like in the Christian world, in the Christian dating community, that's kind of what we're set up to believe.
Totally.
That, that kind of goes in. Now, this might be one of my most controversial opinions.
Bring it.
I don't think that you should go into every dating relationship with the intention of marriage. Now, hear me out as I finish this thought. I don't. You scared me. I thought there was like a spider or something. No. You made me lose my train of thought. Dating to marriage. Dating for marriage. I don't think that it's always healthy to start a dating relationship thinking about marriage with that specific person, because I think that, especially when you're young and like, I would say like in your late teenage years, early adult years, it's not a healthy expectation to put on another person that like we could get married. Like the early dating stage, and I'm talking too much about dating. I know this is about singleness, but I think so like even in singleness, like thinking about like if you're like interested in someone or thinking about like just sometimes it's okay to like not think about marriage. It's okay to just be like, I'm not there yet, or we're not there yet, or like I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with that, but that's okay.
I think that does fit into singleness, because what I would do all the time is like I would like constantly just like I feel like I was just stressed all the time, because every new area I'd walk into, I'd be like, I'm looking for like where is he?
Every church conference,
my gosh, every young adults thing. You're like, I'm gonna meet my husband this weekend. I know it.
Yeah, it's so easy to like put. This is something that I'm changing my answer on. Sometimes I would think about marriage more. Is that I would like, if I say like I want to be married, and marriage is like God's will, like God blesses marriage and loves marriage, and I would be like, oh, God loves marriage, of course I need to like think about marriage and like prepare myself for marriage. Yes, prepare yourself for marriage, but also to like pray about it all the time and let that be like your only, maybe not pray about it, you should pray about it a lot, but like if you're like what you were saying about praying for your future spouse, that was maybe not the healthiest thing for you to be doing in that time, to be like, I need to constantly journal about this. And like we were talking, this might be embarrassing, I'm gonna out you right here, but we were talking about this is a thing in the Christian community to write letters to your future spouse. And I never did this. I'm not a journaler. I'm not at like I don't know, it just wasn't my thing, but Jazzy did it. And do you want to share? Did you bring one of them today?
I will, because I didn't bring one.
At Jazzy and Riley's, Jazzy and Riley's engagement party.
Yeah.
We read one of them.
Yes.
And it was so funny.
Maybe I can go up and find one, but I'll bring it to the next episode and we can read it. Okay. So I went to this Christian, was it called Cherish?
I don't remember.
It was like a purity conference. So cringy. Yeah. But I went for a few years, and they had different like focuses.
Was it at Cedar Park?
No, it was at some other local church. And it was basically a ministry for women, for like young adult girls, for high school girls, middle school girls, all different levels, talking about like how to be pure and how to live. It was really good and really good. But I heard this one session and I ran with it, and I just took the info and I like full on sprinted.
You were like for like years. Seventh grade.
Okay, and it was this girl. She was like, I started writing love letters to my husband in the 6th grade. When I was young.
Okay, we're not bashing on this. I actually think it's a really sweet idea, and it's really, but
what I was writing was not cute.
Jazzy's level of maturity at the time was.
And I took that idea and I ran with it, and I would write prayers and love letters to my future husband ever since I was in like 6th grade. And I think I stopped when I was like in 10th grade or so, because I was like, this is literally so stupid, because I would look back and they were just so dumb. This is how a lot of them would start. Dear future husband, today was a really hard day. There's this boy that I like a lot, but I don't know if it's you or not. And I'm so sorry if it's not you. I don't want to break my promise to you. And I would just be like, just trauma dumping.
And the next one was like, dear future husband, I'm sorry I broke our promise. And your poor future husband's just out here.
It's
not
Riley.
even, I mean, Riley's here, but like, what was Riley doing at the time? He did not give a rip.
He doesn't care.
You had a really pure heart in doing it, but that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes things like that just encourage the negativity and the like.
It was kind of toxic. Yeah, but I think I took it to the toxic level because I just was obsessing over it, and like in those times of my life, it's really sweet because God always put that desire in me to like be married and to love my husband, and I will give Riley those letters and we will laugh and have a good time reading them, but. Like, I didn't need to be worrying about my future husband when I was 12
years old. Yeah.
And also when I was like 18, when I was 22, when I was 23, I still didn't need to be worrying about who my future husband was, when he was going to be there. Like now I just feel like, I don't know. It's so different once you like are closer to marriage. you kind of just forget about singleness, and you forget all of how just painful it can be and how discouraging it can be. But that was what I felt like I needed to do in those times. And some of them are sweet, but yeah. So back to the emotional boundaries. I want to talk about that because it's important to remember that like not every boy is your husband, and deconstruct the idea of dating to marry. Maybe we should talk about like friendships too, because friendships is a big part of singleness. Like with your girls, you can have some guy friends. I don't know if that really works very well, but
to have guy friends,
yeah. Like, don't you think that someone likes each other in every like guy girl relationship, friendship? I
don't think so. I think
really.
I don't know.
Did you have any good guy friends
that you didn't like? It depends on what age you are. I feel like, and also everyone is so different. Like I'm not ashamed to admit that I did have a little bit of a boy crazy phase in like my middle school and early high school years. I feel like the older I got, the less I got like that. But I think the older you get, I think it's okay to have guy friends, but I understand what you're saying. If you are like wanting to be married and like looking for a husband in every person, maybe it's not the healthiest decision to surround yourself with boyfriends. If
it's like one-on-one, yeah, probably not. But maybe in groups, in like young adults ministries, it's healthy to like have obviously friends that you're not dating. But yeah, so yeah, any other emotional boundaries that you think help set you up for success in your singleness?
Yes, I do think that there are a lot of emotional boundaries. That is like the hardest thing, I think, just as humans to have emotional boundaries, but as girls especially, I think it's especially young adult girls, when you are in a stage of singleness and you don't really know what your future holds. Obviously no one knows what their future holds, but when you're just not sure of like your future, it's hard to have good emotional boundaries, especially because I don't know about you, but like, I'm sure you would agree with this, but when you're in the middle of an emotional crisis, the last thing you want to think about is boundaries, or like the last thing you would ever come to a conclusion about is boundaries.
Right.
So I think it's good to like take intentional time either by yourself or with a trusted, like godly person, counselor, to like set boundaries for yourself. It's different for every person. I don't think boundaries have a one size fits all. But I feel like for me, my biggest thing was to just like, I put so much pressure on myself to like find a purpose in singleness and just felt like, I don't know. I'm just a little girl.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know? And I think like, especially after graduating high school, I graduated high school in 2020 where the world shut down. And I felt like I graduated high school and just went and was just like thrown into like, what is my life right now? Like, what is my purpose? I'm 18 years old. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't want to go to college. I don't really want to do anything, in all honesty. And so I felt like my biggest emotional boundary that I needed to set for myself was like not trying to like be something or somebody that I wasn't, or not trying to like set this expectation for myself that was so far out of reach that it wasn't like something a box I was supposed to fit in. I just was supposed to like live my life. And so that was really hard for me to like see other people making these decisions for their life at 18 years old to like go and do these crazy things. And I felt like, I don't know what to do.
Am I behind?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
and so I think that that's a really easy thing to fall into in singleness, when you feel like I don't know what my purpose is and I don't have a relationship that I'm filling my time with.
Yeah.
To just feel like I'm just floating.
Yeah.
I feel like I felt like that a lot.
Comparison is easy to fall into. And I was even going to bring that up as an emotional boundary. Social media was something that I struggled with. And I talked about this in like the last 2 podcasts I was on, because it was just, you're seeing people's lives so up close. And I was seeing other people's relationships, like being jealous of it because like I want that. Like I should have that by now, but I don't. And there were people that I had to unfollow, like, or accounts that I'm like, I don't need to be filling my mind with this, because it's not encouraging me to a place of content in the season where God has me. And so that was an emotional boundary emotional boundary that I had to put for myself, is like, we're not following these cute couple accounts.
Yeah.
We're not watching
Couple
these
goals,
YouTubers who just are so cute, and you're just like, it just puts you to a place
You're
of
watching
jealousy.
it in spite. Just like,
Yeah, you're like,
gritting your teeth at them.
So yeah. With the media you consume, movies, like, maybe take it easy on the Hallmark movies. Like, I know
love Hallmark.
it's just, if they're feel good movies to watch, but it's very unrealistic too.
Right.
Of like what relationships actually are.
Yeah.
And it might be fun for a little bit, but I think you can just like warp what relationships are going to look like in your single season if you're just filling your mind with like, oh, it's gonna look like this, and it's just all of this like fake stuff that really is not realistic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, watch what you're consuming, what you're watching, and
even the conversations that you're having. If all of your friends are only encouraging you to like wallow in your single sadness, that's not encouraging. Maybe change the topic every once in a while, or just I don't know, find hobbies, find things that are inspiring to you outside of that.
Totally.
Yeah,
maybe we'll wrap up here in a little bit, but what is one piece of advice that you would give to a girl who is single, who is maybe like around your age, so early 20s, maybe right out of high school, like in college, who is single, who is wanting a relationship? What was one piece of encouragement that you'd give her if you were sitting down with her?
Well, I am no expert, but I feel like one thing that I would say is just that you don't know what tomorrow holds. Things could literally change at the drop of a hat. Like, you don't know.
True.
So just don't live your life in expectation that something is going to happen. Well, maybe I take that back. Yeah, you should expect that things are going to happen, but don't live your life
Holding out
for a relationship.
Yeah.
That's not the purpose of your life. It's a blessing that God gives you. It's something that you should, look forward to, but don't like let that be the drive of your life, because you just don't know, and you can miss out on so many good things, so many other friendships, so many opportunities. If you're just like, oh, I can't, well, what if it happens right now? I don't want to like do this in case this happens. Or I feel like maybe that would be advice that I would give, is just like pursue God and chase his opportunities, and don't try and like, just don't be lazy. And
don't forget to have fun.
Yeah. Yes. Like, don't forget to have fun.
Totally.
What about you?
Yeah.
I'm horrible at advice. Let me just preface that.
That was good.
Sometimes I feel like I don't. What advice would you give me?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was thinking about like if I could speak to myself when I was coming out of college, like in those 3 years where I was just sad. And I had a really low self-image of myself. One, because I don't think I was taking good care of myself. Like, you learn a lot in college of like time management, like how to be healthy. Usually like things catch up to you, and like you learn a lot in that season.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're a girl who's like been single for a few years and you're waiting, but you feel like you're just stuck in that, I would say do something that's gonna like catapult you out of that. So whether it's a bold step of like, I'm going to join a new group.
Yeah.
I'm going to move.
Yeah.
I'm going to move out of my parents' house. I'm going to try to start a business.
Yeah.
Like something that's going to just catapult you out was for me the thing that helped. And also I really wish that I would have had a better view of myself, because if I would have realized that the reason I'm single is because God's doing something in me, and I'm not single because, oh, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. And I would have just stopped comparing myself. I feel like I would have just been way happier.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Comparison is the thief of all joy.
Yeah, it is. And I'm thankful for that season, because like without that time, I would have not be where I am now, and like be able to speak to that and like understand what was going on. And so obviously like you go through everything for a reason, but I would just say, if you are in that season of singleness and you're just struggling with your self-worth, take time to invest in yourself. And it's not selfish. It's actually a very selfless thing. If your motive is right, it can be the most selfless thing, because you're investing in your future, and you're investing in the kingdom of God when you take care of yourself too, and you're able to live like and be your best self.
Yeah.
to God's standard, not to the world's standard. So yeah, that's my piece of advice.
That's good. I was just remembering, like, I feel like maybe a lot of the reason I didn't always, like, wasn't sad about being single was because I watched you go through a lot of that stuff. I know this is going to sound really depressing, but wait till I get to the end of it. It's like, I mean, when you were in college, I was still in high school, and I remember you would like come home on weekends and you were just like sad about a lot of that. And you have always been a very like vocal person about your feelings and like emotions.
And I've also been a very emotional person.
No shame in the game.
I feel things deeply.
Yes. And I think that I watched a lot of that and just felt like, I don't want that. And I think that in the best way possible, like it set a good example for me of like what not to do. Like that sounds so backhanded, but thank you.
You're welcome.
But I do remember like, I remember some of the advice that like mom and dad gave you. And I remember like taking that to heart as like,
yeah, that's good. You better listen, Jessie.
No, like I feel like we process things a lot differently. We're very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different in our emotional ways.
Emotional capacity.
Yeah. No, but I do remember like taking those things to heart and like realizing that, I don't know, I feel like
that's
you
great,
just,
honestly,
you taught me things even in your walk.
Yeah.
And that kind of just reminded me that it's okay to like have people that you go to and voice that like, I'm really struggling with this. I feel sad about being single, and go to someone that you know is going to love you, is going to encourage you out of that, and is going to give you good, godly, biblical counsel on that. Like whether that's your mom or your pastor or, you know, whoever that is, like find someone that is going to encourage you out of that and not like push you deeper into that. Like sometimes that means stepping away from the friends that you're with and just like, I need to take this to someone who can encourage me because I need some encouragement. But I remember like mom and dad were always that, or are still that for us.
Yeah.
And the encouragers. And yeah.
They're like, we don't want you to be single anymore either. We're sick of hearing you cry all the time.
No, it's okay to cry too. It's okay to cry.
Okay to cry.
We are a house of girls here. I mean, it's getting less and less as we all move on and move out. But there were times where there would just be tears.
All the time.
All the time.
I love crying.
Yeah, a good cry is good for the soul.
I think I'm due for a cry.
Yeah. Yeah, you know when you're due for a cry. When you're like, I know I haven't cried in like 3 weeks. I know it's coming.
It's been like 3 days.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And then you wake up the next day all like puffy.
Yeah. The puffy
refreshed.
It feels so good.
Dehydrated and puffy, yeah.
Well, any last thoughts about singleness?
No.
Okay.
No more thoughts.
No more thoughts. We're done closing that chapter. Yeah, so that was great. That was our first episode. Our next episode is going to be talking about dating and talking about purity culture and how to date well, how to, do
also,
all of that.
If you have any things that you want us to talk about specifically in dating, you can always reach out on the podcast or not necessarily
comments,
dating, but anything. And we're happy to
on the Instagrams
answer.
Yeah.
You'll see Sandy soon enough. We're sorry if you miss her. Sorry if we're not good enough.
We basically are Sandy.
Yeah.
So
this is what you get.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Anyways, thank you for joining us on this episode. It was really fun for Olivia's first podcast, my first time hosting. Did I do okay?
I think so.
Besides my breakdown at the beginning.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week for episode 2 of this relationship miniseries.
Yay.